This podcast is the sole property of Proud Sports. Our thoughts and opinions are our own.
Yeah. They say I walk like a king, talk like a king. You can act around now, say the same thing. They chasing the fame, they all want the name. But they ain't got what's running through these veins. Say I walk like a king, talk like a king. You can act around now, say the same thing. They chasing the fame, they all want the name. But they ain't got what's running through these veins. Make way for the king.
Welcome. It's a Proud Panthers podcast, and I am Steven. Thank you for joining us. This, the home for all things High Point University basketball. At any point, you can follow along with me on X at Steven Beck PS. Also, this podcast is at Proud Panthers, and all of it is on proudsports.com, PROWLED sports.com. Is our home that we actually just recently launched another podcast as part of our family. There is a podcast that we haven't done tons in the way of mentioning it and pushing it out there, and that's called the Big Foodies Podcast, because we've been working on a lot of things with them on the backside of happenings. And one of the big foodies, BB Shea, joined us recently to launch something new. It's called the Weekly Prow, a little different than what we've got going here. It's not all about High Point University basketball, really not all about High Point University at all. It's more kind of like locker room talk is the way I'd describe it, but covering a lot. Like in the most recent episode, things discussed were 64 hours of wasted time happening in Charlotte. So what's up with that? We covered the best hot dog you can find in the Triad. So you'll want to know that. And things like what is Sally or mukbanging, all on the most recent episode. The Weekly Proud comes out every Wednesday and is a part of the Proud Sports family. So be sure and add that to all the different cues that you need to jump on and take a listen, just like you do here. And here we've got a High Point University basketball game happening again, right in line with launching this most recent episode of the Proud Panthers podcast. So we're going to be talking High Point UAB right after this.
High Point University, the premier life skills university, is ranked the #1 best-run college in America by the Princeton Review. Employers value HPU's real-world preparation. Students love unprecedented access to global leaders on High Point's inspiring campus. And parents appreciate HPU's God, family, and country values. Choose to be extraordinary at High Point University.
Our High Point Panthers take on the UAB Blazers coming up Friday night. The next game as part of our Panthers schedule after starting the season 3-0. And we're here to talk all things about it on the Proud Panthers podcast. I am Steven, and thanks for being with us on proudsports.com. UAB at the beginning of the season for me for college basketball, and I'm not talking when we actually tipped it up. This is back in the summer. I had the non-conference schedule in hand at that time, and I just went down through the list and said, yep, that one, highlighted and circled on my schedule, is one that we're going to have a tough contest with. It's one of those that your attention is peaked up a little bit, knowing that it's coming up. Now, there's a lot of reasons why that is. If you just go back to last season, The only other time that these two teams have met was inside the Quabain Center. 68-65 was the final score of that game. And High Point, it took a lot, took all that we really had to get this one in the win column for us. There's another reason. Sitting down with assistant coach Ben Fletcher, getting to know him, introducing him to you all, to me as a fan. And Coach Fletcher came from the same league as UAB and mentioned them directly as a team that if you were able to beat them a season ago, then you were doing something right, basically. Coach Andy Kennedy, the head coach of the Blazers, somebody that is related to here in North Carolina. He was at NC State before transferring to eventually play for UAB. And then, of course, now he's gone on to become their head coach. But he's had a very solid program during his time for the Blazers in Alabama. And I want to say that he's never had a season where he's won less than 22 games. Now, all of those things, like I said, piqued up my interest to say, okay, got to pay attention to this one. But atop all of that, there is considerations that I would say I'm taking and holding on to from our last game that I wanted to kind of revisit a little bit with you today. Now, last game out, if you missed that for one reason or another, High Point, we played Jacksonville earlier this week inside the Quabain Center and did end up with a 21-point win. So looking at the final score could be a little confusing potentially, because honestly, that wasn't the way that the first half went. And in fact, today we will have some stuff for you from Coach Clayman that shares that sentiment. And we're also going to have stuff for you from Terry Anderson and Coach Kennedy as well. So we're kind of running the gamut here. We've got some stuff to share with you all to get you prepped and ready. But one other way that you can always get ready, I have to add, are the Know the Foe style toothsayer articles that we've had up on proudsports.com before the games happen for High Point's team. And that is where I get a lot of my little nuggets and things to prepare me. So just saying, if you want to know more about this matchup at any point or any of the future ones that we have on the High Point schedule, then I would encourage you to take a peek at those. And usually we have them out a few days advanced of the game. Now, one other little thing just to kind of mention about this game is that we're in this little stretch right now of a boom, boom, boom scenario on the schedule. And honestly, I thought about this after the fact later, but in a recent time where I was talking with Coach Clayman, he had said that he had kind of built out the full roster of our team. Really, the mindset going into that was considering and thinking of tournament play when it came to the Big South. And so the positive takeaway of this boom, boom, boom on the scheduling, because we had a game on Tuesday inside the Quabain Center. Now we have a game Friday on the road at UAB that we're talking about now. And then following very quickly after that is Canisius visiting us inside the Quabain Center on Monday. So really rapid fire. But the positive takeaway of that is that if the roster was being compiled, considering the benefits that it would have on our play when it comes to the Big South tournament, then I would say also the scheduling is doing much the same. But why am I highlighting this game and why am I approaching it with a little extra caution because of the game with Jacksonville? Those are solid questions. And so maybe to kick off a little bit of that conversation, this was me joined by head coach Clayman after the game. If you missed it, joined now by head coach Flynn Clayman. Coach Clayman, thanks for joining us.
How's it going, everyone? Thanks for having me.
So tonight is one of those interesting nights for a couple reasons in my eyes. One is that we're kind of having a quick jump from a Saturday to a Tuesday, which means that you have a quick turnaround. But also in addition to that, we're coming off of a D3 opponent against a, solid A-Sun style opponent. Do you feel like that may have impacted how we got started tonight?
I don't think that's fair to say. I think it's just we have to look internally, and it's been a little bit of an issue. I think with the starting group, how they've started, even against Furman, like where they didn't come out with the energy that I needed from the start. So we'll challenge those guys to start a little better, but I'm happy with how they responded coming out of halftime.
You did say that at halftime you gave them a challenge going into the second half. Was part of that effort with rebounds, or was it more of something structurally that you guys felt like you had to do to change? Because I think at halftime, if I remember right, it was something like 8 offensive rebounds that we had given up.
Yeah, we harped on that coming into the game. That team is big. They're physical. They need offensive rebounds to win. We just didn't answer the call in that first half. In the second half, we only gave up 2. We did much better. But, if we bring that effort first half against UAB, we're going to be in big trouble. Again, this team responded, but we got to come out better from the start.
I continue to see a big spark from Terry and Conrad, 2 really solid guys that could, I'm sure, easily start for you. Talk about how, again, they showed up tonight.
Yeah, I mean, those guys are high level basketball players. They're all conference level basketball players. They just happen to be coming off our bench, similar to like Keza Jiffa, his first year with us. I'm fully confident in what they bring, and they lift us up every time. We don't get a great start. They come in and bring that energy, and they'll keep that up.
We do have now, after this win, a trip to go ahead and take on UAB. I would say is really our toughest test that I see in our non-conference schedule. What are you expecting from our guys as we head down to Alabama?
I expect them to be ready to compete. I expect them to play high-point basketball. I expect them to play tough defense, rebound, and run, and just keep it simple like we've been doing. If we do that, then we should be fine. But they're a very good basketball team. So, even if we do those things, they're going to throw blows back at us. They're not going to just roll over. So we're going to have to bring it for 40 minutes. But if we play high-point basketball, I like our chances.
I have to add one final congrats, and that is that you are now 3-0 if you want to count the exhibitions, but 1-0 in the challenge department. So for whatever that's worth, you got that going for you too.
Yeah, Colby behind the bench, one of our GAs, has been spot on. He got a couple in the exhibition games too. So Colby's doing his job, and I'm glad he's helped me out here.
Well, we appreciate you taking time with us as always here on the Proud Spaces. Good luck against UAB. We look forward to seeing you guys back in action on Friday.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Go Panthers.
So a few just takeaways from that and why I wanted to play it now. Terry Anderson was mentioned in that, and some things that Terry is bringing to our team and how he's played of late, positive. And I really have grown to admire and appreciate how far Terry's game has evolved from last season when it was full of very difficult times and injuries. So we're going to come back to that. But if you just caught it there in our time with Coach Clayman, he says it himself. If we come out flat, if we come out the way that this team approached the first half against Jacksonville, the Dolphins, on Tuesday night, we're going to be in trouble. UAB is not a team that you can toy around with. And I'm not saying Jacksonville really was either necessarily, but the coach has a system in place. And one of the ways that we were coming out a little flat on Tuesday night against Jacksonville was in the rebound department. We were giving up a lot of offensive rebounds. It was something like 8, I believe, at halftime. And it was allowing for plenty of second chance opportunities that UAB will feast on. They love to hit the offensive glass. And honestly, going into the game with Jacksonville, if you just looked at their stats leading in, they weren't really a team that honestly had done that so far in the season. So you have to be considerate of that. You have to be considerate that this game is a true road test environment and all that comes with it. It's not just a ride 3 hours away from home. It's not an exhibition game where honestly everything's a little bit looser. We're in the meaty portion of our non-conference schedule right here, right now. And my desire is that people would listen and take away what one of their captains on the team is saying. And this goes back to when High Point defeated Averett. That was a Division III team inside the Quabain Center. We had just scored 127 points. There wasn't tons there other than things happening off the floor that were much to do of anything. And listen to what Terry was thinking post-game.
It was a great win for us today, but to be honest, I feel like we could have did a lot of stuff better and we could really improve on a lot more.
Terry's whole thought process for this season, and it started back when I sat down with him like I've attempted to do with most all players on the roster, still more to come that way. But well far back before this season started and Terry and I sitting down, it's on our Proud Panthers podcast lists somewhere. You can deep dive into the archives to find it. He shared thoughts and comments about how last year was tough, certainly. Lots of injury problems that he was still trying to battle and endure through. But one of the things that caught my attention was that he felt like he had let the team down, but he also felt like he was somewhat disrespected as well. It's like Terry knew that his talent and ability, and Coach Clayman had mentioned this to me many times as well, and he knows and knew coming in that Terry's talent level and ability was never really shown last season. And this was a season coming in that was like a redemption tour, honestly. He wasn't guaranteed this time. It was granted to him. He was healthy now. And coming in, looking ahead, Terry has played with that chip on his shoulder in practices and in these games. He's come off the bench doing what the team needs him to do. I've said it in other ways, just like I've said that he has taken on this mean mug title, this thing that Trey Benham kind of began and left behind. Terry's taken that on. He's just not satisfied. And so you have to have that mindset game in and game out. I am human. I understand that when you beat a team and you score 127 points, it's a Division III opponent. Your next time that you hit the floor for a game, be in Jacksonville, is probably going to come out a little slower, a little flat, not as energized, because we're human and we become accustomed to what has happened most recently around us. That's just what we do. And most recently, we pretty much did whatever we desired to do against a team. And so you come out the next time, and I think it's easy. I'm not saying this definitely happened, but it's easy to have the mindset that, we roll the ball out and we'll be all right. But against this UAB team, that is a mindset that you honestly just can't have that going in. And that's already raised up the flagpole by head coach Clayman. I think you've got a guy like Terry Anderson that views it that way. And so my desire and hope is that the full team's attention is, like mine was, circled, highlighted, crisscrossed around this game because of all the factors that we can really point to and say, hey, this makes this a little different. 68-65 season ago. Different cast of characters, different teams, but it still is something that you just have to understand. Andy Kennedy as a coach got a system in place. They love to rebound. Well, we just gave up some offensive rebounds that way. They're a solid mid-major program. They just got beat by Alabama State. And that was a surprise one. That was a game where, honestly, I can't remember the name, but even one of their former players was dogging his old team and old school on social media about UAB losing to Alabama State. Like, you're telling me that won't be bulletin board type material for the Blazers team going into this game? And to top it all off, it's not only been something that's circled and highlighted and really been focused in on from my attention well back before the season when the schedule was out. It's likewise been something of attention and a realization that this game is a pretty important one by the UAB staff. So here was Coach Kennedy giving his thoughts.
A High Point team. And I know when you say that, people sometimes think coffee, High Point coffee, isn't it a coffee? But they've got a tremendous program. I was blown away. Last year in the scheduling thing that we do, we're always trying to find people that are like us, that maybe challenged would get games, but numerically that makes a lot of sense. And so we went up there. It's the first time I'd ever been to their campus, first time I'd ever been in their gym. I was just blown away with the commitment that they've obviously made to try to be good in basketball. And they are good in basketball. Last year they go to the NCAA tournament and they battled somebody. Was it Michigan in the first round? I can't remember. I think it was Michigan. But they battled somebody to a really close game. Then their coach left, and now he's the coach in waiting at Creighton. And the assistant got the job, and they've had to retool like we all have. But I've been really impressed with what I've seen. I watched them when they played Furman just because we weren't playing that night. It'll be a real challenge for us.
So there's words from Coach Kennedy saying, well, he's got most of the details right there. And it's very kind words. So I'm not trying to, I'm just poking a little fun here. I'm not sure the coffee side of things exactly. I might be missing out on something on the coffee side. All I could think of is, maybe Andy Kennedy's been listening in to my Proud Spaces post-game High Point games where I'm promoting a friend of mine, Foster Hobbs Coffee. So maybe he's getting it all just kind of twisted and confused up there. So I appreciate the follow, Coach. But then he also, mentioned that we had played Michigan, but I just think he's thinking of Yaxel. That's where Yaxel ended up, his boy from a season ago. We ended up playing Purdue for that NCAA tournament. But all in all, the same meaning, the same result is there, and that is that he believes High Point. He's been impressed with High Point, all the things that we've put into the basketball team. And honestly, how can you not? We're sitting at 3-0. We've had large enough margins of victories so far, and seeing the Furman game, he said that was I said it. That was a statement win to start the season. That when you play a team like the caliber of Furman, we've talked about it, they were basically an NCAA tournament team a season ago. I know you can't basically be it, but what I'm saying is it came down to an amazing SoCon championship where Wofford just happened to beat them. When you beat those type of teams, others around are going to start paying attention. And so how could you not? But all in all, this game, UAB High Point on the schedule Friday night in Alabama, this is meaty. This is important. And the desire that I would have is that we're all approaching it with the same mindset that Terry, chip on our shoulder, is approaching.
It was a great win for us today, but to be honest, I feel like we could have did a lot of stuff better, and we could really improve on a lot more.
127 points against a Division III. Whatever. We could have done a lot better. We could have improved a lot more than what we just showed. Okay, well, we just gave up 8 offensive rebounds first half against Jacksonville. Same mindset. And what I really, really can't let go of before we finish off this episode is to say how awesome it is that Coach Clayman came out and challenged the team at halftime the other night. And after that challenge was put out, I want to say that only another rebound or 2 on the offensive glass was given up. So the bell was answered. There was a challenge put forth, and the team responded the way they should have. And they responded by ended up beating the Dolphins by 21 points, when at halftime it was close. So the attention being there and grabbed is one part that I hope we just come off the bus ready, because I think Coach Clayman has said it best. Yeah, if we don't, we could be in some trouble. But at the same time, the other benefit to it is I like the idea that if we are not coming ready to play and a challenge is put forth, it is that we can hope our team continues the other night. But time will tell, and it's an exciting, great mid-major matchup for Friday night. High Point visiting UAB. And not trying to tip my cap a whole lot, but to fit everything in between this game and then Canisius on Monday night, I would say we're probably going to have more Proud Panthers podcasts flying at you, not only after UAB, but also leading up to Canisius. So if you are a High Point basketball junkie like myself, man, we've got it made for you. And we hope that you will hang with us, follow us the next time we are here on the Proud Panthers podcast.
You can act around now, say the same thing. They chasing the fame, they all want the name. But they ain't got what's running through these veins. Say I walk like a king, talk like a king. You can act around now, say the same thing.